Welcome to this week's episode of The Higher Self. I can tell this is going to be a wonderful conversation because of those boots. Like those are, Luci, can I see this boot? Like this is, yeah. Show them the boots. Where are those from?
These are from Peru. I'm from Peru, and I got these in Lima when I went to visit a few months ago. And these boots were waiting for me. It's like they were made for me. They were the only pair, and they were exactly my size.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so now I wear them everywhere.
I love that. I love just seeing authentic stuff like that. Like they just really catch your eyes. The other day I was at, by the way, welcome Luci Lampe. Welcome to the show. Maybe I should introduce you and welcome you to the show. But the other day I was at a restaurant and the hostess was wearing like a white, authentic, like, I don't know if it was Peruvian or Mexican but you know those like authentic dresses?
Yeah.
It was really beautiful. And she says, yeah, people always compliment me on this particular dress. And I love seeing stuff
I guess
like
a certain
that.
consciousness to it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you live in Carlsbad.
Yes.
One of the things that I remember caught my attention was, and I want to dive right into this.
Yes.
You posted something where I think you were like in a bath with your partner.
Oh yes, the video.
Yes,
the video, the reel.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was sitting in front of you, and you were like washing his hair, and you mentioned something about the difference between mothering and like loving, right?
Yeah, like mothering versus nurturing.
Yeah, and I want to dive deep into this because so many men, what they do without knowing it is they look for in a partner, they look for a mother. Yeah, they look for someone that resembles their mother, someone that treats them like a mother. And in very many ways, when a man is not in his fullest masculine power, he really looks for the safety that a mother provided him. And that's where we get like imbalance in a lot of relationship, right? And so would love to hear your thoughts on an explanation on what's the difference.
Yeah. Well, it really surprised me when Instagram decided to, share it with the masses a month after I published it. I remember, actually, I filmed that video with my husband.
Oh, so it's your husband?
That's my husband.
See, I didn't
yes.
even know. Okay.
Yes,
good.
We've been married almost 17 years.
Oh, good to know.
And we have 4 kids together.
Beautiful.
So we've been through a lot of different seasons together. But right before he started this 41-day fast, and we didn't even know that was coming a few days later. So it was like a really beautiful ritual of preparation. Looking back in hindsight, I just followed what my heart was telling me to do. So I love that throughout the duration of his fast, this video was reaching so many people. But yeah, the mothering and the nurturing. So as a mother, I've had a lot of healing to do around what it means to be a mother. So when I say mothering, there is a beautiful, pure essence to the mother. But in that video in particular, I'm referring to more of like a parenting, like where the criticism, the correcting, no, you're not doing this right, so let me just take over. And also just taking care of someone because you don't trust that they can take care of themselves.
So powerful.
And it's because that is actually what we experienced for about 2.5 years. My husband he had this time of depression and disability. And so I was the breadwinner. I was pregnant with our 4th kid and very overwhelmed. So not only am I taking care of the family and making the money at that time, but I'm also taking care of my husband, who we don't know what's wrong with him. We don't know what's going on with his body. And also during that time, my body went into a super high stress response and I developed this whole autoimmune disorder, which I haven't had in 7 years, but that's another story, how that healed. And so I was like, okay, I'm in charge now. He couldn't even change a diaper. He couldn't take out the trash. He couldn't do anything physical.
Wow.
So, that was my big wake up call to, where I am just loving having control and losing myself in the circumstances. And that's when I started to have my big spiritual awakening. But throughout the journey of, healing and restoring my wholeness and rediscovering myself, I found a really beautiful experience of nurturing and being nurtured. So it goes both ways. It's not just me to him, in a way that isn't disempowering to the other person's capacity to do whatever they need to do with themselves. So there is a fine line logistically, if you just look at it in the semantics and like the definitions between that mothering and that nurturing, but really the energy of it is, I love you so much that I want to show you how much I care for you. Not, I don't trust you to take care of yourself. So here, let me do it. Let me do it for you. So that's a lot of what I mean.
I'm curious. I think this could help a lot of people. I'm curious yet. Whenever we come across something, or have to deal with something, or see this type of polarity in it, it's because it might have been like an issue for us. Is that something that you struggled with?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that just made it bigger.
It amplified it.
It amplified it big time.
Got
Yes.
it. Yeah. And where do you think that came from in you? The need to, to be that version of you?
I mean, it came from what I saw modeled as a kid, from my parents. And, everyone's doing the same, the best that they can with what they know and the resources that they have and all of that. But yeah, I had an assumption that to be a mother means that you just got to kind of do everything, and also monitor your partner. And it's a running joke, in the mom world of like, well, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that always rubbed me the wrong way because that was me,
Yeah.
I judged what was me and I hadn't accepted in myself. But yeah, I felt a false sense of empowerment in having some kind of control and in being able to control him. But then that was a big turnoff because I, at my core, didn't want a people-pleasing partner. I didn't want a man who could just cave into my every whim, but he just wanted to see me happy. So both of our childhood kind of, patterns and things were very amplified during that time to the point that we couldn't not look at it. We couldn't not go there.
Yeah, you had to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting you say that because in my relationship, the same thing happened. Not that pattern, but there was a pattern of our energies were obviously imbalanced, and then once we were able to see it, what we realized is that, in many ways we were brought together so that we could heal those parts of us.
Yes.
And that's where I say, a lot of people, I think I made a post once about something along the lines of, and I was speaking to women, but I said something along the lines of, when you're ready to tap into your true femininity and tap into true safety, you find that in a man, the same way a man finds that in you, and I think that riles people up. I think that riles the hyper independent human being when they see something like that. It triggers them because, everybody wants to think I can find safety in myself and I can do it for myself. But just in you saying that and just in you being triggered that, you've got to understand that it wouldn't move you if you ultimately didn't truly feel 100% safe in yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you're safe in yourself, there's nothing to explain. There's nothing to argue about. There's nothing to defend, right?
Yeah.
And I'm only sharing it from the perspective of someone that was that, from someone that used to say and used to think, I got it. I'm Mr. Tough Guy. I can figure it all out. I can provide for myself. But then when I met Jen, it's like, boom, it takes you to another level. And that's the beauty of relationship.
Yes. And I was that person too. You're like, I don't need a man, but yet I was married.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. But what's really wild to me is this whole journey of going through these different stages within my own journey of being so enmeshed and my identity wrapped up in my husband to within the same relationship being so independent. And that was rough. That was hard because we both had to kind of do that on our own for a while before we could really find each other for the first time, really, to really see each other for the first time in a way that wasn't through the lens of like, you're completing me. But there is just something magical when you do feel whole in yourself, or you feel whole with the divine. You have this sense of peace in you that you're not grasping. But then when you come together, it's amplified in a way that nothing else can do.
For sure.
And so that's what I really am grateful for, all of the hard, crazy experiences that we've had that have forced us to either go one way or the other. Like there was no more kind of writing the fence.
Yeah. So talk to me about that journey, and talk to me about some of those things that you had to go through that could potentially help the audience and say, like, wow, that's what I'm going through right now. What are some of those things that you had to go through?
Oof. Well, to begin, okay, I think what really started to open the door for deeper healing was, this is going to sound so simple, and it is, but it was so hard to do. It was just letting ourselves feel feelings. All like decades of bottled up emotion that were manifesting in physical form as all of these mysterious aches and autoimmune things and all of this that we were having. It was, to be completely honest, it was a really messy process for about 18 months of taking the cork off of all of these bottled up emotions and rage and grief and resentment. And because we were the nice guy and the good girl, we were the servants in the church and all of these things like that. We met at a Christian college, and it took a while to deconstruct all these different things. But yeah, feeling and giving ourselves permission to feel, giving ourselves space to feel. So Ryan and I both had our individual practices. Like he would go through this process every single day, where he would go through whatever his trigger was, and go into the different stories that were behind that. Like, what do I think this means? And what's the opposite view of this? And what is her point of view? And kind of going this whole, it would took like 45 minutes to an hour, but he would do this every day. And part of that process was releasing the rage. And that's when he started to realize how much rage was inside, just bottled up. And same for me.
So time out here. I want to dive into this because a lot of people, they are living on autopilot. Yeah. And they don't realize that a lot of their reactions, it's so interesting. I was driving this morning and I thought to myself, so sometimes I'm just thinking about how to communicate, what it is that I'm downloading to like human beings. And I was thinking to myself about Jen and our relationship and what I was looking for, and what I was looking for, not in a human being, but what I was looking for in my life.
Yeah.
So what I was searching for when I got down to the core of what I wanted in my life was peace.
Yeah.
Peace from anxiety, peace from mistrust, peace from doubt and worry, and peace from needing, right? Needing to be loved, needing to be accepted, needing to be wanted, needing to be validated. Peace doesn't need, peace simply is. And if you've ever, as a human being, which I'm going to go on record and say this, I don't know that too many human beings have ever really tapped into the energy of peace, because I can tell you, I've only touched it, and lived in it maybe for like a 1 minute span, maybe 2 or 3 times in my life. I'm talking bliss, like pure peace, And I'm talking not in meditation. I'm talking like
in life.
Out here in life. And so, anyways, when I thought about all this, and I thought about what attracted me to my partner, was that desire for peace, and I realized that there was a certain level of inner peace that she had in herself that attracted and drew me in. That when we got together, we have a very peaceful relationship, Anything that I used to experience in my past relationship, the constant fighting, the constant arguing, the constant defending, the constant frustration, that none of that exists now, right? I'm bringing this up because what you said was so important. What you said was your husband had a little ritual where anything that would bother him, and please listen to this, guys, because this is magic right here. Anything that would bother him, he would go into it.
Yes. Into it. Even if it's just the lawnmower next door.
Exactly. Okay, pay attention, humans. This is where you start to grow. Listen to what she said. Even if it was the lawnmower next door, right? So you have to get to you don't have to. You get to into a space where when things bother you, you have to ask yourself the question, why does it bother me? What's it saying about me? What am I holding on to? What am I feeling? And you start asking yourself these questions. That's called consciousness. Mm-hmm. Consciousness is you no longer reacting. Consciousness is you being aware of what's causing the reaction, going inside to it, healing that deep-rooted emotion or unsettledness within you so that you can be free of the reaction.
And releasing the resistance that we feel there. Because especially in a world, in a context where we were taught that to have any kind of intense or heightened emotion is not okay, but it's a part of the human experience. So beginning to accept the full spectrum of our feeling selves, and also learning, this was the really hard part, learning the appropriate context to express certain things. I didn't think that I was a very angry person. I'm not an angry person until I started to really, it started to come up. And then I would like emotional vomit at Ryan, and he became the target of my wrath. So it was misdirected. So that when I say that it was messy, that's what I'm talking about. There was just about 18 months of just chaos. But we were like, okay, we're in it. We're being real and raw and honest and vulnerable. And it, so we learned a lot in that, which is a lot of what I talk about now and teach now and work with my people now. That it doesn't have to look like that, but that was just a perfect part of our process.
Yeah, for sure.
And then from there, we went deeper into healing around our sexuality and more embodied practices. And for me, a big thing was just reclaiming my pleasure and reclaiming my sexual essence, my erotic aliveness, and that transformed our marriage in yet another
capacity.
Way. Yeah.
And it's so interesting you bring this up. I resonated with the fact that you said that you both met at a Christian college.
Yeah.
Religion has a way of doing just that. It caps you from getting to know you and your truest feelings. And as a result of that, even one of the tools that it uses is it caps you from getting to know you and your sexuality. It makes sexuality and your sexuality a sin or something wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's why I feel like so many women have a difficult time feeling pleasure.
Yeah.
So many men have a difficult time with premature ejaculation.
Yes.
So many men have a difficult time with pornography. And you look at all of these circumstances that we as human beings have with the very thing that created our life.
Yes, right.
And you can look into it and find that underneath it all are the energies of guilt and shame. Yep. And this is how religion controls. Religion controls through fear, guilt, and shame to keep us away from knowing who it is that we really are. Because when we discover who we really are, we no longer need the religion because everything we've ever wanted is inside of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all with it. It's you realize the connectivity and the nature and the, just all of these things that are new age or demonic.
Yeah. Everything that's new age or the devil or is demonic.
It's actually old as time.
It's actually the thing that will set you free. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. What was that like for you? Because I know for me, that was a process.
It was several years.
Yeah, that was a process. And, I feel like we're starting to attract a lot of people that are starting to leave or at least be open to like, wait a minute, like these are like, we're not crazy people. Yeah. Like we're like normal, good human beings that have just gone through a process. And I think it's opening up the conversation to a lot of people to maybe opening up and beginning their process as well. Like I remember for me, there was so much guilt and shame around sex.
Yeah.
You know, as a man, that there was so much anxiety around sex, you know? It's like, and if you think about it, sex is a reflection of your life. So the way you feel and act and are in sex, you are in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's the most intimate, like magnifying glass into the rest of our life. How open are we to receiving from the universe? How open are we? How much love are we embodying? How much love are we allowing to flow through? Or are we focused on when's my next goal? You know, when am I going to get there? Or are we staying present and connected and grounded in the moment?
That's right.
And so, yeah, it's that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned in this journey that we both did.
How did you do that as a couple?
So one of the most powerful things in our process as a couple was actually my self-pleasure practice.
Really?
Yeah.
On your own?
On my own, which I still do to this day. I've been doing it every day for years now. But what that allowed me to do was to get into this space where I connect with my body and my energy, my beliefs about myself, my thoughts about my body, all of these little inner critical voices that are like, you're not doing this right. It's taking you too long. This is wrong. This is bad. You shouldn't be doing this. And that is the place where I released the shame and opened, like, they say the wound is the place where the light or the love flows in to heal that. So that's where I began to let the light in. And so every time that we would be intimate together throughout, it's not like we stopped having sex and I was just doing this. I was doing this and that. I always thought that I had a very low libido. I was wrong. Turns out that, when that awakened, there was a period of time where he was like, I don't know if I can keep up, but I've wanted this for over a decade.
Wow.
And, we had been married for over a decade at that point. And so there was a certain, I would say, level of self-acceptance and releasing of judgment and shame and guilt and all of these things in my own body for my nervous system to feel safe enough to open more fully with him. And then from there, it was just exponential.
Beautiful.
Because then we got to build upon that. And there was, just kind of one thing, builds on top of the other.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And what was that like? What did you notice in him once you opened up? How did that impact him?
Oh my gosh. You think about the dynamics and the polarity, right? When the feminine embodied person is truly receptive and open and like, yes, it's a yes, not a, I'm contracted like this, but I'm going to let you in anyways. But when he began to experience me actually being open and receptive and soft and like come to me, his, we'll say masculine energy really stepped up. Mm-hmm. And he was so much more taking ownership, and not like I love to be owned in a sexual way. But no shame in that. But I did feel weird about that, actually. I was like, what kind of, female empowering person am I if I love to just surrender in the bedroom? But that's what my heart wants.
But you see, that's so powerful. That's where I think a lot of women have that's like one of the final pieces of like letting go.
Yeah.
And dropping into your full femininity, right? Yeah. It's like this thought, which is like the masculine, the mind, fear, like, who am I and what kind of a woman am I if I allow full release, if I fully surrender to a man? Yeah. What does that mean about me? And that's why you have all these women who are all guarded up.
It just doesn't feel safe enough for them yet. Yeah. They haven't experienced. This is what I've heard from so many couples that I work with. And a lot of them coming from religious backgrounds too, by the way. Like, what's the link here?
If you want to build a great business, right, as a sex therapist, just go stand in front of a church. Just go stand in front of church. Just look at all the lack of smiles.
Oh my
look
God.
At all the lack of
and
touching and
the
affection.
Unease around
all
each
of the
other.
we just came, we did it, we stood up, we sat down, we stood up, we read the book, we said the prayer. Yeah, this is all the mind being programmed. Yeah. Just pick them up. Just, hey, come over here.
We just need to learn that it's safe to be more at ease around each other. And we can relax and enjoy each other's presence. It's not a performance.
Yes.
Sex is not a performance.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole idea of, oh God, I had a thought before and I kind of went, I'm thinking like 10 different things.
Listen, if you open up the door for me to talk about religion, I'm going to take it. I'm just, every time, I'm just going to let you know.
That's what I was going to say. Often the people that find me are the ones who are in the spiritual wilderness.
Yeah.
They've already left. They know that it's time to, explore somewhere else, but they're like, I don't know where to go now. Where are my people? Who are my people?
Yeah.
And they long for that connection and they don't have it with each other too. And so the couples, a lot of times what I'll see is the woman, she will feel not safe. She will not feel safe to surrender. And he has been like a man-child for the duration of their marriage that she doesn't feel safe to surrender. And I'm like, why would she? So it is as much of a personal journey as it is a together. There are 3 different things happening. Actually, I would say 5. There's my connection with my body, my connection with the divine, with source, with spirit. There's his, and then there's us coming together. Mm-hmm. And then how are we bringing in this like God essence and magnifying love through our connection? Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of different things happening in that healing process. It's really a journey of remembering, who we are more than it is healing. The healing is just kind of a path there.
For sure. It's so interesting how intricate the process is because, I'm trying to think like which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Right? Is it the woman that has to fully surrender? And yet, how can she fully surrender until she feels safe? Which for a woman to feel safe with a man, he's got to, at some point in his life, drop into and connect to his heart and his own feminine essence, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so when he, as the man, can drop into and live in and at least invite and start to tap into his feminine essence, start to tap into his feelings, start to tap into his emotions, right?
Yeah.
Then she starts to feel safe. She starts to open up her heart. Her energy starts to flow a little bit better, which allows her body to start to open up. Then when she fully surrender, he fully rises into his masculine. And that's when you really get like the magic. That's where the magic happens.
That's basically what happened. I think also initially for me, because I was the one who was like, I can't do this anymore. I either need to leave the marriage or I need to find a way to be at peace within it.
Wow.
That was the decision point. I've had a moment where I thought like my life wasn't even worth living. So I was at the end of my rope. I couldn't sleep at night, Danny. I was a freshly postpartum. I was covered in rashes throughout my whole body. I developed these boils and they were bleeding and I couldn't sleep for more than an hour and a half a night and had a newborn and I was trying to work. And I was like, I just can't. And so I started looking for something else that the church wasn't giving me, that wasn't providing. I wasn't finding it there. And that was when I first came across, Tony Robbins and, the like inspirational, motivational kind of speaking. And I was like, what is this? So I would be listening, pushing my double stroller down by the beach. Thankfully, we had this beautiful place surrounding me. And I would just be listening to Tony Robbins in my ears on repeat. Like, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. That's what, got this whole thing started. But yeah, I had to find enough safe, just enough, not the fullness of it, but I had to find enough safety within myself and my journey, and enough safety with whatever my rituals were, all of that, so that I could begin to soften and open, so that I could begin to feel more at ease. So and he felt that.
So what are some, I really appreciate this conversation because I think it's going to help a lot of women, and ultimately, that's the desire of my heart.
Yeah.
You know, what motivates me to do all of this, the podcast, the Awaken, anything that we do, is that I remember what life was like when I was stuck.
Yeah.
You know, when I was stuck being the version of myself that I was. And I'll tell you right now, I could have been married 40 years, blowing out candles every year and miserable.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not about the time.
Right.
It's not about the time.
It's not a badge of honor to be miserable.
Exactly. It's not a badge of honor to be miserable because secretly you're afraid of what the church is going to say or think, or what society is going to say or think, or what your family is going to say or think, or even what the kids are going to say, think, and feel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, you have to understand that this is your life. And that real love loves yourself first, and that you're able to be honest with yourself first. And so I like really honor the fact that you were courageous enough to just share and say, like, at one point, life wasn't worth living. So I was either going to like leave and like check out of this thing, or I was going to sit in it and figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of women might be there right now, as might a lot of men. And I want to speak to both of them now. So a woman right now, and I'll speak to the men, right? A woman right now is feeling disconnected with her own sensuality.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some trauma. Maybe there's bad experiences. Maybe their first time was not a safe first time, right? Where does a woman start?
Or maybe they've never had a safe time.
Or maybe they've never had a
what I
safe
encounter.
time.
Yeah. When they start to experience the safety, they're like, oh my God, I never had this.
Wow.
And they didn't even know. It was just so normal. I would say to begin with, well, there are a few different practices that I like to encourage women to do. One of them is a self-pleasure practice. And it's not just like, let me do this as fast as I can. It is a practice of being so deeply present with what is. It's not unlike meditation. You know, you're there, like, what is my body feeling? Where am I numb? Where am I holding tension? Where am I feeling discomfort? And you just immerse that with love and acceptance, and you don't put any pressure on your body to go any faster than it is ready to go. And this is the place where your body begins to trust you as a woman. And as a man too, really, this applies to men too.
Sure, absolutely.
And in a coupled scenario too. But the more that, and I'll speak to my own experience, the more that I practiced being present with whatever was there and not what I thought should be there, not what I thought I should be feeling, not however long I thought it should take, I was met with so much love, like so much divine love. And from there, as the resistance begins to melt away, and you feel this in the body, sensations begin to come back. And I can't tell you how many women in their 40s, 50s, even 60s that had never had an orgasm had their first one after doing the self-pleasure course or, working with me in some capacity. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't think my body could do this.
Wow.
It's like it didn't trust me enough to surrender, because orgasm is complete surrender. You can't force it, not a real, full release. So I would say that's a good place to start. And and it doesn't have to be focused on genitals even. It can just be like, where can I feel pleasure in my body? Work your way into whatever your body's ready for. And also just movement, making it a daily practice to do some movement. And I'm not talking about reps, a workout. That's great. Lots of benefits. But just turn on some music that makes you feel something.
Right.
And let it move you. And it doesn't have to look good. It's not a performance. You're not getting scored for this. Just making it a practice to feel. And that will open up some things. It will begin to clear the channels sooner or later.
Hey, thanks for watching this week's episode of The Higher Self. The reality is if you're watching this show, it's because you are searching for more, and you know deep within your heart and soul that there is more potential from your life. Maybe you desire true financial abundance and freedom. Maybe you desire to heal the fragmented parts of you. Or maybe you desire to attract the relationship of your dreams and be in a relationship with passion and true love. Whatever the case may be, that is what we specialize in. We specialize in helping you and guiding you to healing the fragmented parts of your life that have created these stories in your mind that keep you from living the life of your dreams. If you want to find out how we can guide you in that process, my mastermind Inner Circle does just that. It's a group of like-minded individuals that is wanting the absolute best out of life and will not settle for anything less. We get together 4 times a year in person and twice a month online. If you're in a place in your life where you're ready to discover your truest potential, then Inner Circle is for you. Message us the word Inner Circle right now on Instagram or Facebook at Danny Morel. Our team will message you back and begin to share with you the details about what it would take for you to join our Inner Circle. Message us the words Inner Circle right now. I couldn't help but notice how many times you said it's not a performance, or it's not a test, or you don't have to get there right away, or that's all the masculine. Yeah. It's the masculine.
Yeah.
And again, I think we have this connotation, especially because of feminism, right? I think we have this connotation that the masculine is wrong.
Right.
That's part of the design.
That it's toxic.
Yeah,
or that it only exists in men.
Yeah, exactly. Or that it only exists in men, right? Yeah. When the reality is that that's part of the system of the 3D
part
world.
Of nature.
Yeah, yeah. But in terms of keeping us separate, right?
Yeah.
When you have an issue with the word masculine, what you have an issue with is a part of yourself. It's a part of yourself that is wounded that you have yet to address or be able to heal.
Yeah.
Because all of us are masculine and feminine.
Yes.
And what you normally see is that women have an issue with masculine. So a woman who is deeply in her masculine, when she hears a statement,
masculine,
right? When she hears a statement like feminism is masculine, their minds get blown. They get so upset that. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Masculine is not bad.
It's not bad.
See, I think we operate, here's something that I have discovered over the years is that what we perceive, what we have labeled masculine is actually a distorted form of masculinity. It's not even real sacred masculine, because you know what the real, true, divine, sacred masculine does? It fiercely protects the heart of the feminine.
That's right.
So in my own inner masculine, I used to say I was so in my masculine for years. I wasn't in my masculine, truly. I was in this performative, not present and grounded and rooted in truth, like the masculine is. It was all about what can I do to be accepted? What is it that I should be doing? What am I supposed to, what do people expect me to do? If I were truly connected to my sacred masculine at that time, I would have been like, you know what? I need space to feel. So let me create that space and the parameters for my inner feminine to feel more deeply. But I didn't know. It's not commonplace, It's
Sure.
not something that we're taught. We're taught that masculinity is toxic because it is domineering and overbearing, but that's all the shadow.
Right.
It's not the truth of the masculine.
And it's the same thing in men. The same thing in men is like, what I find most is that most men are afraid of their feminine.
Right. Yeah.
Because what is feminine?
Right.
Feminine is weak.
Yeah.
Feminine is, for men, it's you're a little bitch, or you're gay, or whatever.
Right.
It's like all these negative labels.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's your heart. Yeah. It's very simple.
It's your feelingness.
Yeah.
Your feeling.
Yeah. And it's your ability to connect to those feelings.
Yeah.
And how are you ever going to help a woman?
Oh, yeah.
Or how are you ever going to connect truly to a woman? You connect through feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And she can't feel you. If she can't feel you, she's not going to trust you.
Exactly. Yeah. She's not the business plan, guys. She's not the goal. She's not the trophy. And I'm saying this because this was me 13 years old. My wife will look like A, B, C, and D, and the blah, 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 right? And it was like the way that my brain processed life, right, is the way that I processed what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's where a lot of men get in trouble. Because when you go out there and you're looking only for example, the external, right? You have to ask yourself this question. Why is the external so important?
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be a reflection of something else. I think when we stop focusing on the external, what I have seen and what I personally experienced is that it happened anyways, but then it wasn't about that. And for some people, it's completely, I didn't even know that this is what I wanted. This is not my type.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Final thoughts.
Oh, yes. Something that comes up a lot in men and women is like, what can I do if my partner's not ready to do the work? When is it time to go? When is it time to stay? Love is not only knowing when it's time to maybe leave, but also knowing when it's time to stay. And only their hearts will know. What they can do is devote themselves so fully to embodying love. And by love, I don't mean being a pushover, doing whatever the other person needs them to do or is demanding that they do. But when you're really embodying this love, it's going to take you way beyond the comfort zone of your ego. And you practice living in love instead of an ego, living in soul and heart, which means exposing the pain of your heart too. And when you practice doing that, whether or not that relationship works out, you're already it. Like you're becoming the love that you want to have mirrored back to you. And it's either going to rise, like that relationship is going to transform as it did with us, or it's going to mean, okay, it's time to go. For me, I committed at one point to myself that I would not leave without peace. I was not going to leave to find peace out there. But I had like this contract with the universe. It's like, okay, you're here for this. Like, this is where you grow. This is where you stay. Like, don't run away. And don't leave until you have peace, because you're not going to find it out there. You might feel more comfortable, but you won't find peace. Beautiful. That was just my journey. But yeah, embody the love, become the love, and let it expand you in ways that you never imagined was possible.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. How do people find out more about you?
So I'm on Instagram at Luci Lampe, Luci with an I, and all of the current offerings and everything will be in my bio link at lucilampe.com.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
That last part was beautiful.
Thank you.
Because people ask me all the time, and I think that was a great answer. It was a great answer. Yeah. Thanks. Hopefully this resonated with you guys, and hopefully you're starting to understand that it really is all you, and it really does all begin with you. And so my challenge for you this week until next week is to, close your eyes for a couple of minutes a day and really just, if you don't know what questions to ask yourself, just try to work on being silent with yourself, and connect with Mother Nature, because trust me, the answers will start revealing themselves. I feel very confidently in the fact that the energy of this podcast and the energy of the work that we do here, just you being in that same vibration, will have an impact on you if you allow it to happen. Source will meet you exactly where it is that you're ready to be met. And we'll see you next week on another episode of The Higher Self. Thanks for watching this week's episode of The Higher Self. If you heard something in this week's episode that caused you to think maybe, just maybe, there was a higher potential for your life, maybe there was a potential to earn and receive financial freedom, to attract the relationship of your dreams, or to improve your health, that's what we specialize in. We help wonderful human beings like yourself to unravel all of the limiting thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you've been living through so that you can finally tap into your life's truest potential. If you'd like to talk more about that, we invite you to join us on Instagram or Facebook and email us the word Discover More. And when my team sees that, they will reach out to you, send you the details of how we could help you on your pathway to a life of abundance, fulfillment, and creating the absolute life of your dreams. Message us right now the words Discover More now on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll see you soon.